This is KFI, WBA Super Flyweight World Champion, and you're watching True School Sports.
Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT. I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, life is great. I got the bald head. I'm talking boxing right now. You know, we're going through a bit of a pandemic right now here in the world, but that doesn't stop the grind. That doesn't stop us talking about boxing here on True School Sports, because there's always something to talk about, for me at least, because I love the fight game, and I can find things to talk about in boxing. So hope you're safe wherever you're at in the world. But I wanted to talk about our favorite subjects here on True School Sports. Yes, and I said our favorite subject because it's always fun to talk about this guy. We always get a lot of comments. We always get a lot of feedback. The comment section's always lit when we talk about Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, because he's a very polarizing figure in the sport of boxing, for better or for worse. So, you know, ever since he got his ass whooped by Tyson Fury in the rematch, there's been excuses. There's been Glovegate. There's been the costume excuse. There's been him blaming Kenny Bayless. There's been his fans saying Stitch Duran is a cheater and a racist, and in my comment section, and just all kinds of insanity, you know, all kinds of insanity going on since the Tyson Fury Wilder rematch. But if we're pointing fingers, right, because, you know, we're pointing fingers here, there, and everywhere. If we're going to point fingers, let's point them at somebody in Wilder's team, because, you know, people have even been pointing fingers at JD's and Mark Breland. JD's rightfully so, and Mark Breland as well, because, you know, he's went along with it. But let's point the finger at somebody who really needs a couple of fingers pointed at him. Now I'm going to get up and I'm going to pace back and forth, because you guys know when I pace back and forth, you know I get turned up, you know I get lit when we talk about this boxing. Now, one person that needs to be called into question, and this is for all the Deontay Wilder fans, this is for my Bomb Squad Nation, for all the Deontay Wilder fans out there, this is for you guys too. I want you guys to take all your fingers and point them at this guy, because he deserves just as much of a blame to put on him as the costume, just as much as JD's and all those guys have been blaming. And that guy comes in the form of Shelly Finkel. Yes, Shelly Finkel. For those of you out there who don't know who Shelly Finkel is, because I know not everybody knows who Shelly Finkel is, Shelly Finkel is Deontay Wilder's manager. He is the driving force in guiding his career. Now, you may say, BT, why should we be pointing the finger at Shelly Finkel? You know, he didn't do anything. Well, no. Quite the contrary. He did everything. He did everything to put Deontay Wilder, when he was a prospect and a contender, in a what I've called for a long time a witness protection program for boxing, because he didn't fight that many solid contenders coming up. You know, he didn't really fight any punchers coming up. I know it's the heavyweight division, so they can all punch, but he didn't really fight no real punchers coming up. You know, the only puncher he fought, the biggest and baddest puncher he fought, was a shot Dominic Brazil, or maybe Luis Ortiz. And those guys, if you're a top elite level heavyweight, those guys should never be the hardest punches you fight. You know what I'm saying? So, Shelly Finkel, let's take you guys all the way back to the 25th fight of Deontay Wilder's career, because, you know, on this channel I've been criticized for being a fanboy of Joshua and Fury and White, and I've even been criticized, believe it or not, as a Deontay Wilder fanboy. So I'm what you call an equal opportunity asshole. I call a spade with everybody. With that being said, and with that being taken into account, let's say you buy a bet to the 25th fight, because Anthony Joshua's 25th fight will be June 20th at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against Kubrat Pulev. In Anthony Joshua's 25th fight, he's fighting Kubrat Pulev, who is a world-ranked contender, former world title challenger. You know, he's got loads and loads of experience on the amateurs. You know, he's a good fighter to fight in your 25th fight. You know, a solid opponent, you know. Wilder, on the other hand, that wasn't who we fought in this 25th fight. In Wilder's 25th fight, he fought a guy by the name of Damon McCreary. Now listen, for those of you out there who haven't really done your due diligence on the earlier parts of Wilder's career, I'm encouraging everybody that's watching this video right now to go watch the Deontay Wilder Damon McCreary fight, and I want you guys to tell me what the hell is fighting a guy like Damon McCreary gonna do for Deontay Wilder. Now, in that particular fight, it was Wilder's 25th professional fight, just like Josh was about to have his 25th professional fight. And he fought a guy named Damon McCreary. And this guy, Damon McCreary, he was, at one point in time when he turned pro, he was a solid super middleweight prospect. So this guy turned pro. The guy he fought, Dan McCreary, he turned pro at super middleweight at 168. And he fought him. He didn't fight him, because if he fought this guy in his first 10 fights, okay, acceptable. First 15 fights, okay, acceptable. But he didn't fight them at that stage of his career. He fought them in his 25th fight when most guys are challenging for world titles or even have a world title. He was fighting this guy as a prospect. And this dude, I mean, y'all think Andy Ruiz is fat? You think he's a butterball? Go watch that fight between Dan McCreary and Deontay Wilder. This guy was a fighter who ate himself up from 168 to heavyweight, and Wilder, wound up stopping him in 2 rounds, and he had nothing for it. Now, the reason I bring up this fight with David McCreary is because of the fact that Shelly Finkel. This wasn't the first time Wilder had a matchup like this. He had many matchups like this in his career. Against no-hopers, he fought more no-hopers than anybody in boxing. More, overmatched opposition than any champion in boxing. And listen, I can't get mad at as much as people think I hate Wilder. I can't necessarily get mad at him for those fights because again, he's only fighting who they put in front of him as a professional fighter. And he's gotta. This is how he earns money and makes a living, and this is how he funded and helped better his daughter's life who had a spina bifida. So I'm not gonna get mad at him because he's only doing what any other fighter would do. He's fighting to make a living for himself. So God bless Wilder. But Finkel was the one that kept getting these guys no hoper after no hoper after no hoper, and ultimately what it did was it robbed Wilder of valuable in-ring experience, and it costed him later in his career. And I'm gonna give you one example of where it really costed Deontay Wilder, because he's obviously a great knockout artist, but as great of a knockout artist as he is, and as crazy as this is gonna sound to most of you guys, I don't really look at Deontay Wilder as like the greatest finisher in the world. I just think his record is a bigger product of matchmaking than it is like his ability to finish guys. To be honest with you, we'll start with I'm gonna use the Tyson Fury fight. I'm gonna use the 12th round of the first Tyson Fury fight because I've said this in past videos. Deontay Wilder dropped Tyson Fury very early in that 12th round of the first fight. He had him done, right? And a lot of his fans say, because even his fans back then were making excuses. They were saying, "Oh, well, Jack Reese, it was a conspiracy, and he's a conspire with Fury, and he gave Fury a 15 count and all this stuff, right?" Okay, I'm gonna, you know what? Oh, I'll give you that. Just for the sake of argument, I'll give you that. Okay, Jack Reese, he gave Tyson Fury a 15 count, and Wilder was cheated out of a win. Okay, fair enough. He got it wrong. But you know what? He had well over 2 minutes to finish Tyson Fury. He had well over 2 minutes to finish Tyson Fury. And he didn't finish Tyson Fury. In fact, he lost that round to Tyson Fury. He lost the rest of that round to Tyson Fury from the time he got up to the conclusion of the round and ultimately the fight. And if you go back and you look at the punches he was throwing, they're all headshots. They're all shots to the head. He's headhunting Fury, and Fury's making him miss and making him pay. And my thing is this: had Wilder had better ring experience, had he fought better, more tougher, more durable fighters on the way up, if he fought less, basically what I'm trying to say is if he fought less no-hopers on the way up as a heavyweight contender, then maybe we're sitting here having a different conversation right now. Maybe Deontay Wilder would have learned how to place his shots a bit better. Maybe Deontay Wilder would have actually finished the job and stopped Tyson Fury in the 12th round. And that's where I think this really costed Deontay Wilder, because listen, whether you can sit here and you can rationalize his resume to me all you want, but the reality is he has the most padded record in the history of heavyweight boxing for anybody that's held a world title for as long as he's held a world title. He does. No doubt about it, he does. And Tyson Fury, in both fights, represented the first prime elite A-level fighter he ever fought. And when he fought the first prime elite A-level he ever fought over the course of 19 rounds, he lost. He won 2 of them and lost about 17. So with that being taken into account, and with that being, when we think about that, this is a byproduct of Wilder being protected. This is a byproduct of Shelly Finkel enabling him. This is a byproduct of Shelly Finkel. Even if we want to move all the way back to 2015 when he fought right after he won the title and beat Bermane Stiverne, right? He beats Bermane Stiverne, okay? He has the WBC heavyweight title. He's the first American titleist since Shannon the Cannon Briggs in 2006. So he's in a very great position. He's in a position that to where if he can show the boxing world and the boxing fans that he is the best in the division, and do it in the same devastating fashion he was doing it as a contender and a prospect, then he's going to be going places. But before boxing fans could even begin to think about a potential unification undisputed fight with Vladimir Klitschko, Shelly Finkel came out and he said no. He said no. He said that roughly 2 weeks after Wilder captured the title, Shelly Finkel comes out and says, "Oh well, Wilder's a kid, and we're gonna give him time to grow into becoming a champion." But the thing is, he's already a champion, so you can't like put training wheels on him if he already has the bike. You know what I'm saying? That's a good analogy. You can't put training wheels on him if he already has the bike. So he fought more no-hopers. He fought more unknown contenders at the time. Like the Johan Duhaupas of the world, who to all of us, most of us was unknown at the time. We know who he is now, but he was unknown back then. Spilka, the guys like that, So I think Shelly Finkel should get more blame than JD's, and that's saying something because I think JD's is the worst trainer in boxing, worse than Virgil Hunter. I think Shelly Finkel should get more blame than JD's, and I think he should get more blame than Mark Breland, and I think he should get more blame than any of the 10,000 excuses Wilder fans have brought up since the rematch, because it's the enabling and the witness protection of Shelly Finkel, him not allowing Wilder to dare to be great and fight Klitschko, for undisputed. Him blatantly being the main reason why the Anthony Joshua fight didn't happen. So listen, I can't get mad at Wilder because he can only fight who they put in front of him, and he's only gonna go with what his team says, as most fighters would. But Shelly Finkel's also the main reason why the Joshua fight didn't happen. I mean, make no mistakes about it. Make no qualms. Make no mistake, and let there be no confusion about Shelly Finkel being the guy who sent the fake $50 million offer, the $50 million offer that Anthony Joshua, even if he wanted to, couldn't accept because that money was generated from BT Sport. And as many of us who are in the know understand, Anthony Joshua has a contractual TV rights obligation to Sky Sports. So if he accepted that, he could be in some serious legal trouble. And listen, Finkel's no idiot. He knows that, but he sent the offer to him so that way when Eddie Hearn and Joshua didn't accept it because there's legal reasons as to why they wouldn't accept it, then they're gonna say, well, they ducked the fight. And on top of that, when the offer was sent, because I remember I made a lot of videos about that whole situation when it was happening here on True School Sports. When the offer was sent to, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, all parties involved, to make the big fight, the fight between the two undefeated heavyweight champions, one from the UK, one from America. When it was sent, Eddie Hearn said, no problem. We will definitely love to talk about it. He wanted to discuss the terms. And Shelly Finkel said, no, I want you to accept this before you know the terms. Now listen, I don't know if we have any business people out there in the world, but listen, if somebody offers you anything, like if you apply for a job, you're not going to go into anything that involves your money and your business without knowing what the terms are. You're going to want to know how much you get paid, by the hour, or whether it be salary or by the hour. You're going to want to know what the incentives of your job are. You're going to want to know what just the details are. And once you know those things, whether or not you take that job, career path, or whatever it may be, that will become more clear once the details are revealed. Now, if they don't reveal the details for you, how the hell will you know if you're going to take it or not? You see what I'm saying? So these are the shady dealings of Shelly Finkel, and because of these shady dealings, because of the way he put Wilder in a witness protection program for boxing, this hindered Wilder when he got to the big dance. And listen, I know the Wilder fans are going to say, oh, well, he beat Ortiz. Well, listen, Ortiz was a great win. I give him all the credit in the world from that. That fight actually maybe had to put some respect on Deontay Wilder's name, and I did. But that's not the Ortiz fight is not the big dance. Sorry to break it to you, it's not the big dance. The big dance was both Fury fights. They were. And the the verdict on that thus far is that he is not up to par. He cannot mess with Tyson Fury. He's not in the same. He's not in the same class as Tyson Fury as great heavyweights. Straight up, he's a great dance partner. Don't get me wrong. He's a great dance partner because of his style and what he brings to the table. He's been able to produce some magical moments for the boxing fans. So I give him credit for that. But in terms of the totality of the 19 rounds through 2 fights, he has not been up to par, and he has not been to the class or the level of a Tyson Fury. And a big part of that, I know I've already spent enough time blaming Wilder, which he does deserve blame because he's a control freak and he likes yes men around him. I've already blamed JD's for being the ultimate yes man and trying to make Bart Breland the fall guy. So we already hashed those things out. But just as big of an issue as those things are, Shelly Finkel might be the biggest reason, because he really didn't put Deontay Wilder in a position to where he could be able to one day have the tools, have the ring experience to deal with a top level elite fighter like Tyson Fury and come out victorious. You know, he didn't do that. Instead, what he did was he massaged his confidence. He massaged his earlobes, which I'm not gonna lie to you. When you come from the amateurs and you have Wilder's style, you need that learning curve to grow. But at some point in time, there's a time for learning fights and confidence building fights, and there's a time to step it up and sink or swim. And Wilder, when he was a prospect, he never had to sink or swim. Wilder, when he was a contender, never had to sink or swim. Wilder was spoon-fed and hand-picked easy opposition his entire career up until the Fury fight. The Fury fight, and you know what? Let's clarify the Tyson Fury fight for what it was, because let's not make it sound like, oh, well, Wilder just jumped up and fought Tyson Fury because he was this great heavyweight and he was beating everybody and it was #1 versus #2. That's not what it was. Listen, when Wilder fought Fury, it was all a byproduct of the Joshua negotiations not panning out the way they wanted it to. Okay, because that was plan A, was to get the Joshua fight, but it didn't go the way Finkel and Wilder wanted it to. So they said, you know what? What's the next best thing? We already fought Ortiz, who's a pretty good heavyweight. We're not gonna fight Dillian White because we're scared to death of the guy. So who could we pick who has a name that we could beat? So they looked at the rankings. They looked through the landscape of the heavyweight division. They saw Tyson Fury on the comeback trail, fighting no hopers and bums himself. Going the Deontay Wilder route, fighting Sefer Safari and Francisco Pianeta and all them guys. So they said, you know what? He shot. There's no way Fury could be good anymore. He did drugs, he did alcohol, he did all these things. They thought it was sweet. They thought it was sweet like candy. So they said, you know what? Once Wilder whoops him and takes his O, and that makes him the A side on the Joshua fight, which, from a manager standpoint, I could actually understand it. It does make sense. So I'm not gonna fault Finkel for his line of thinking. But you try to cherry pick the wrong guy. You cherry picked a special fighter in Tyson Fury, and then you got outboxed by him. You were fortunate to get a draw, very fortunate to get a draw. And then in the rematch, there was many people that considered that fight #1 versus #2 because many people thought Fury won the fight, and there was a lot of people that before the first Fury Wilder fight looked at Wilder as the best heavyweight in the world. Whether you agree with that or not. So even the first Fury fight, we're gonna count the first Fury fight. Even the first Fury fight was Wilder hand-picking opposition. It just went wrong for him. But the rematch was the first time he truly fought somebody who was A-level, match fit, ready in there to go and take his head off, and everything was exposed. Everything came to light. What was in the dark came to light. Wilder's inability to fight off the back foot came to light. Wilder's inability to win a dogfight, because that's one of the reasons I picked Fury to stop Wilder. I was telling anybody who would listen that Tyson Fury will stop Deontay Wilder because he's gonna walk him down, and Deontay Wilder has never been in a dogfight where the fight is fought primarily in close quarters at mid-range and where a fighter is going to that body. And I knew that I knew when Fury adopted this new Kronk boxing gym style that this was gonna be how he fought, and people didn't want to believe me. They said, BT, you don't know anything about boxing. You don't know anything about what you're talking about. I said, okay, watch. Bang, bang, boom. Fight ended, and all you heard was excuses. So, just food for thought, Wilder fans. It wasn't, it's not Glovegate. It's not a costume. It's not Kenny Bayless. It's not a farmer who the whole farmer thing you guys are talking about. that costed Wilder this fight. One of the biggest things that costed Wilder this fight was the enabling and witness protection of Shelly Finkel. And if you don't like that, if that's a bitter pill to swallow, well, who gives a damn? Get a glass of water and put it down your throat and drink it, because it's the truth. It's the red pill and it's the truth. So, Shelly Finkel, Wilder fans, Bomb Squad Nation, please stop making excuses and let's look at the things around Wilder that got him to that point. You know, he fought a prime little fighter for the first time in that Fury fight, and the handpicking has to stop. Fight some good people and refine that style, Wilder. Because if Wilder does get his head right, I'll be positive about Wilder for this video. If Wilder accepts what went wrong in the fight, if he accepts that, hey, I can't fight off the back foot, hey, I've been cutting corners in training, yes, I did have a lot of hand-picked opposition on the way up. If he can accept those things, make the necessary adjustments to his team, and get with somebody that he'll listen to, that he respects, and that can teach him some new things, just make minor adjustments, he could win the third fight. He could win the third fight. And listen, I want to see Wilder. I want to see the best version of Wilder in the third fight. I don't want to see a blowout. I don't want to see a blowout like we did in the first fight, because the first fight was a blowout apart from the knockdowns. And I don't want to see an absolute slaughter like I did the second fight. I want to see a competitive heavyweight fight. We haven't got it so far in the first two Wilder Fury fights. So, you know, make of that what you will. But yeah, Shelly Finkel, it's your fault. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Take the time to subscribe, and like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I am just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.
Showtime, Sean Porter.
It's Aerosmith Jr.
Hey everyone, this is Jesse Vargas.
You're watching True School Sports. You're watching True School Sports.
And you're watching True School Sports.